G'day guys, welcome to another edition of Aussie Boxing Talk. I'm your old mate Big J. The show literally punches you right between the fucking eyes. And today I've revived my series that I started about a week or so ago. Champ or Chump. So we're going to be looking at the career of a certain fighter and decide whether they were a champ or a flat out fucking chump. And today, you probably be reading the title, you know where I'm going. We're going to be looking at the one career of one pretty boy, Mick Zerafa, who last night pretty much sealed his fate with the bullshit that he pulled last night. But we're going to go through his entire career and I'll let you guys decide, and it's pretty much a foregone conclusion of whether he's a champ or he's a chump. So, Mick Zerafa, record currently sitting at 39 fights with 34 victories, 5 defeats, 22 of those victories coming by the way of knockout. He's also been stopped himself twice. Alright, so Mick debuted in 2011, I think it was. Yep, Mick debuted on the 18th of March 2011. Alright, the 154 division, taking on a Peter Makapodis, I think, somewhere in Sunshine, a skating arena in Sunshine, which is one of the western suburbs, the industrial area of Melbourne. Alright. So Mick went on to remain undefeated for, some pretty good fights. Mick remained undefeated. Mick remained undefeated for about a dozen fights. He suffered his first loss in 2014 on the 24th of October, going up against a Adrif Medemov, right? His actual first fight outside of the country was against the Russian Adrif Medemov, and Mick was defeated in a 10-round decision, with pretty much the Russian winning every single round of the fight. That was for the WBO Youth Middle and the WBA Asian Pacific Middleweight titles. They were both vacant. So Mick had a sturdy career. Fought Luke Sharp. There's no one else on there. No one else really on that list worth mentioning. So he went over to Russia in 2014 and suffered his first defeat. Then only barely a year later, got into the ring with former WBO middleweight champion Peter Quinlan and got absolutely friggin' flatlined and was stretched out within 5 rounds. And Mick was only 22 at the time of this fight. Why were they putting such a young kid who was just coming off a pretty brutal defeat in Russia up against Peter Quinlan, who was probably one of the biggest punchers in the division at the time? Mick got absolutely flatlined in that fight. Go back and watch it. It's one of the worst knockouts you'll ever see. It's friggin' just terrible what happened. So then Mick goes on another win streak, keeps winning. Defeated Wade Ryan at the Melbourne Pavilion in 2018, and then once again stepped up in 2018, went overseas and fought former, I think, IBF welterweight champion Kell Brook. And although the scores say that Brook clearly won the fight, I think most people thought that Mick Zerafa took Kell Brook to hell and back. All right, so gave Kell Brook a very, very competitive fight, but at the end of the day, Kell Brook was a blown-up welterweight, and this was at 154. All right, then Mick beat Les Sherrington after that at the Melbourne Pavilion, and this is the fight that put Mick Zerafa on the scene, is when he first fought Jeff Horn in 2019. In Bendigo, which was pretty much for Australian boxing was the upset of the year in 2019, because Mick absolutely demolished Jeff Horn, who was an ill-prepared fighter, and Mick just absolutely beat the absolute shit out of him. This is the fight that put Mick Zerafa, who was pretty much an unknown up until this point domestically, right? Like a good domestic fighter, but pretty much an unknown up until he fought Jeff the first time and knocked him down in the second round and then finished him off in the 9th and just absolutely destroyed, the 10th round. That was it. Yeah, the 9th. Sorry, finished him off in the 9th. So, an absolute destruction of Jeff Horn and put Mick Zerafa on the map. Unfortunately, though, with the rematch, Jeff won the UD and, knocked Mick with that 9th round with the absolute punch from the gods. So, Mick proved in that fight he can take a punch and get up, but I don't think Mick's been the same since that fight. I really think Jeff Horn Mick Zerafa's never been the same since that fight. Since that punch in the 9th round, Mick Zerafa's never been the same. Because I think that's where he lost his will to fight. I really do. Because since fighting, he's fought nothing but nobodies. A Filipino bloke, a Fijian bloke in the Melbourne Pavilion, then Isaac Hardman, who was nothing anyway. Yes, it was a good 2-round knockout. I was actually there at that fight. But Isaac Hardman was nothing anyway. Like defensive flaws, much like Nikita. Yeah, good puncher, but defensively terrible. Then he went the fight. After he fought. Oh, let's just cut the shit. Right, we all know Mick Zerafa is nothing more than a half decent domestic level fighter that every time he steps up, he gets absolutely creamed. All right. I mean, after last night, Mick Zerafa should never be allowed to fight again. He's one of the biggest chumps in Australian boxing history. All right? Go back and look at his fights. Name me one significant... He has got 2 significant wins on his record. When he beat Jeff the first time and Isaac Hardman. That's it. You could maybe throw Wade Ryan in there as well. But pretty much, most of his record, since fighting Hardman, half of these guys, like Daniel Karate, a nothing fighter. Inez-Larry Lara, a 42-year-old world champion that hadn't fought in 2 years and knocked Mick out in 2 rounds. Mick, bar Trent Broadhurst, when he fought Dimitri Bivol, Mick Zerafa has the worst world title fight for an Australian ever. He got absolutely levelled by a man who was 10 years older than him and was pretty inactive over a 2-year period. All right? Then after getting levelled by Inez-Larry Lara, Mick goes and fights a 41-year-old Tommy Brown who comes out of retirement for, I think, like the 2nd or 3rd time. And, of course, then Tommy Brown pulls his bicep. I was actually there at this fight. This was the Nikita... Akala Mizudia card. I was actually there at this fight. Pulls his bicep, right? And then his brother jumps in the ring and punches Tommy Brown's trainer. I mean, how bloody stupid. So, not only, Mick's brother Jason gets a lifetime ban. Like, the problem with Mick Zerafa is everywhere they go, it's just a trailer of shit follows him. Like, everything gets destroyed, everything turns into a joke, everything's piss poor. And after last night, Mick Zerafa's just proved he's the biggest chump in Australian boxing. I'm sorry, you can't say that this man is a champion because he's never been one. Right? And he just goes and pisses on the sport. Right? I mean, look at all the bump. Look at the last bump. Bias Air. Like, who the hell was that guy? Michael, the old mate, he knocked out in 1 round. Well, I think that was actually No Limit doing very, very poor matchmaking. But yeah, when you look back on Mick Zerafa's career, it's not going to be looking back favourable. Everyone's just going to remember how Peter Quinlan took his head off. Kell Brook beat the shit out of him. Jeff Horn in the second fight, levelled him. Like, I don't think anyone's going to look back on Mick Zerafa's career with favouritism. And after last night, completely pulling the pin because he got a little bit of dirt in your eye, that just proves that absolutely he's a chump. I mean, and who would want to pay or have anything to do with him? I hope No Limit. I hope Boxing Australia strips him of his licence to say, mate, you can't fight anymore. If you're going to quit after getting a little bit of dirt in your eye, right? That was an absolute joke. He was looking for a way out. He was just like, yeah, I don't want to be here. I just want my money. Absolute just disgrace. And yeah, as I said, Mick Zerafa's career is full of, every time he steps up in competition, he gets levelled, gets beat. So, you know, I don't know how we got the Lara shot, but he is done. He needs to retire. This is actually worse than him getting knocked out by Nikita, because at least people say, well, at least he got in the ring. At least there was no excuses. He got beaten by a better man. But the flat out quit the way he did, absolutely disgraceful. And yep, he needs to retire and never be heard or seen from again. I mean, I don't even want to see him in commentary, right? Because he's a good commentator. You go give him that, but Mick, go away. Don't want to ever see you again. That's it. And that pretty much things that Mick Zerafa is one of the biggest chumps in Australian boxing. I mean, just to, you know, do what he's doing, yeah, just a joke. Just a joke. And you can't excuse it. There's no excuses for this. Absolutely none. Unless there's a medical report that comes out, there's no excuses. So, anyway, guys, what do you think? Mick Zerafa, champ or chump? I think we all know which way it's going to go. Like, share, and subscribe. Always, tackle the ball, wrestle, croc, harden yourselves the fuck up. We'll see you another day.